Om Sat Gurubhyo Namaha. I'm Aishwarya Harish, the Cultural Coordinator for Nrityodaya, the Academy of Performing Arts, Mumbai. I welcome you all to the 6th session of the Young Researchers Forum, an initiative started by Nrityodaya, the Academy of Performing Arts, Mumbai, in coordination with the Center of Excellence Art and Culture, Shasun College, Chennai. I would just like to give a small update on the session so far, because we have successfully completed 5 sessions and today being our 6th session. After our inaugural session on the 3rd of September 2020 by Padma Bhushan Dr. Padma Subramaniam and Padma Shri Shekhar Sen, our young researcher for the second session was Dr. Gayatri Kannan, speaking on the topic Kumara Kampanna, the forgotten hero in history, and the expert was Sri Satavdani R. Ganesh. In session 3, the young researcher Sri Subramaniam Chidambaram spoke on Sandhya worship, its origin, evolution, and relevance for the modern world, with the expert being Dr. K. Srinivasan. In session 4, we had Sri Sriram Narayan Swami speak on references to Natya in the works of Sri Vedanta Deshika, with the expert being Dr. V.S. Karunakaran. In session 5, we had myself, Aishwarya Harish, speak on the elements of the Natya Shastra in the sculptures of the Ambarnath temple, with the expert being Dr. Kumud Kanitkar. Today, we commence with session 6. I request S. Sundari to please render the prayer song.
Padma, Daiji.
Thank you for that wonderful rendition. I would now like to call upon Dr. Jayashree Rajagopalan, Director, Nrityodaya, the Academy of Performing Arts, to welcome the guests for this evening.
Om Sat Gurubhyo Namaha. Om Shri Sai Ram. Namaskar. A very warm welcome to all of you. who have joined us today for this Young Researchers Forum conducted by our institute, Nrityodaya, the Academy of Performing Arts, Mumbai, along with the Center of Excellence Art and Culture, Shankarlal Sundarbai Shashun Jain College for Women, Chennai, which has created this as a platform to enable young, dedicated research scholars to share their findings with like-minded people like you, their Sakhridaya, and make the world at large realize that there are these young scholars passionate about their country's heritage and striving sincerely to delve deeper into it to show the relevance of our ancient knowledge to the present day. We also invite a senior expert to speak on the chosen subject to encourage and enhance the youngsters. Today's young scholar is Dr. Iyer Sridhar Vasudevan, who has chosen to speak on Devi, some important elements in the worship process. We are all very familiar with Devi worship in many ways, and he has taken a particular aspect to speak on, and most of you are welcome to pose your questions at the end of the sessions, which will be handled by both the young scholar as well as the expert. And our honorable expert today is Dr. Ramadevi Shekhar, Assistant Professor of Sanskrit, Sri Shankarlal Sundarbai Shashun Jain College for Women. Thank you, madam, for having accepted our invitation, and we extend a very warm welcome to you and to Dr. Sridhar, our young scholar. We are very happy to welcome Dr. S. Padmavati, Principal, Sri Shankarlal Sundarbai Shashun College for Women, who has been with us all the time. And thank you so much, madam, for your encouragement. We extend a very warm welcome to you. We are ever so grateful to my guru, Dr. Padma Subramaniam, for having auspiciously inaugurated this session and being with us every time. A very sincere and dedicated warm welcome to you. These sessions will be are being held twice every month, and it will be an ongoing session. So I again invite young scholars to come forward and apply for this so that we can take this forward. It's an online session, and it's going to connect you globally. So thank you so much for joining me. And I now hand over to Dr. Rajeshri Vasudevan to continue the proceedings, to introduce the scholars of this evening and set the session rolling. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jayashree. Sri Gurubhyo Namaha to everybody. With the blessings of our Guru, Dr. Padma Subramaniam, it has been our great fortune that she has always been with us, guiding us. And we are also fortunate to have constantly the presence of some of the best experts in the country, I would say, as also young researchers who are bubbling with enthusiasm and vigor to research and go deep into their chosen subjects. We have with us Dr. Rama Devi, and it is said that whatever work we do it, under whose guidance we do it, that is equally important. And she has been very fortunate to have studied under some of the great experts in Sanskritam. Her academic background includes a doctorate in Sanskrit from University of Madras, She's very interested in theater, music, and art forms. She has worked in the capacities of Research Associate, Kuppuswamy Shastri Research Institute, Chennai, Assistant Professor of Sanskrit, Ethiraj College for Women, Chennai, Honorary Deputy Director, Tamil Arts Academy, Chennai, and currently is the Assistant Professor of Sanskrit in Shashan Jain College for Women, Chennai. Her published articles and books include Araru, the Dream God, Rajadharma, according to Shaunakiyam, Journal of Oriental Research, Chennai, Teachers' Remuneration in Ancient India, Influences and Divergences of Arthashastra over Mudrakshaka. Her awards and honors include the National Gurukul Fellowship instituted by Indian Council of Historical Research, New Delhi, 2017-19, the first disciple from South India to study under none other than Guru Padma Bhushan awardee Dr. R. Nagaswamy, selected for the Infosys Fellowship 2020 from Bhandarkar Oriental Institute, Pune. Some of our other highlights are copy editor and reviewer of research books for journals. She is a regular contributor to Tattva-Loka. She has presented several paper presentations in international conferences in India and abroad. It gives us great pleasure to have an expert like Dr. Rama Devi, who readily agreed when I approached her to be the expert for today's session. So thank you so much, Dr. Rama. We also have the young researcher, Dr. I.R. Sridhar Vasudevan. His background is he's a native of Melatur, Tanjavur district in Tamil Nadu, and he's currently stationed in Mumbai. His academic qualifications include an MA, B.Ed, PhD, PGDME. He's a teacher at Parle Tilak Vidyalaya English Medium School since 2001. He is a guest faculty, Department of Sanskrit and Philosophy, University of Madras, for their MA and weekend courses for 10 years. As a moderator in SSC Board Mumbai for the past 9 years. He was awarded the doctorate for the thesis titled Devi, Tantra, Mantra, Yantra Through the Ages, and Dr. Gauri Mahulikar, University of Mumbai. He has prepared the study material, SLM, on the 9 darshanas for Central Sanskrit University. His next publication is on Sri Mahalakshmi of Kolhapur. His areas of research include Devi in Tantra and its development in Purana, Stotra, etc. Advaita Vedanta with special focus on the Prakarana Granthas of Shankaracharya, on sculptures, iconography, folk customs, festivities, and culture. The other highlights include all works are based on primary Sanskrita sources. He has improvised the Rubik's Cube as a teaching aid to help declension on nouns in Sanskrit. He has prominent paper presentations and has attended approximately 16 national and international conferences. So we are extremely happy to have in our midst today an expert like Dr. Rama Devi and a young researcher like Dr. Sridhar. So welcome to both of you, and we're looking forward to a very exciting and informative session. Thank you so much. I now request Dr. Sridhar to please do his presentation, and the questions which are based on his talk can be posted on the Facebook Live chat box on both the Nrityodaya page as also the Center of Excellence page. We will take it after the session is over. Thank you.
Sada Smaran Shri Bharati Tirtha Charanu Viva Sharanam. Thank you very much, Dr. Jayashree Rajagopalan and Dr. Rajeshri Vasudevan of Nrityodaya. Thank you, Dr. Rama Shekhar and Principal Dr. Padmavati for being present. And thanks to my guide, Dr. Gauri Mahulikar, my friends, and everybody on the Facebook and the Nrityodaya family. So I have chosen a topic, some elements in Devi worship. Basically, I will be focusing on Tantra. Devi and her world are so large that they are virtually infinite in terms of literature, method, and knowing her own true self, that I dare not venture that unfathomable ocean. So I selected some elements in the worship of the goddesses. And again, I have to say this, that there are no dearth of elements in the worship process. I have taken up 4 elements in the worship process. They have their own importance in the worship of the goddess, I have categorized them into three. One, the indispensable, that is the initiator or the guru. Second, the important element or the enhancer, that is the kanya. And three, the instrument and accessories for a sadhaka. This we have got two. One is the asana and the other one is the japamala. I begin. Guru or the initiator, the first and foremost human connection between the mortal sadhaka and the eternal sadhya, that is the Devi. In fact, Hayagriva in his Shakta Darshana says, Guru Kataksham Vina na kinchit ubhayatra. And he is a guru who understands the mental frame of the Shishya, that Bhavago Guru. And then we have the Lakshmi Tantram saying, Palayami Gurur Bhutva Shishyanam Atmopasarpina. The goddess herself becomes the guru and protects, instructs the Shishya who has approached for initiation. The Mahalakshmi Ratnakosha states about the guru as Shishyanam Ishta Sansiddhyav Varabhaya Karambujam Karuna Paripurnantaha Karanam Chintaya Sadguru. If you observe closely, one thing is clear. That the teacher or the guru should understand the process, keep the welfare of the Shishya. This rule is applicable to a Vedic teacher also. Apart from these, the most important feature of the Indian theism is that the guru is to be sought upon. The guru may or may not teach, but his physical presence dispels the query in the mind of the turbulent Shishya. The Tantras say that the Shishya may test his guru once or twice and then trust him completely. Bleeding through the Tantra literature as well as other literature, I came across certain traits, both which a guru should possess and also some traits which should be avoided. They are as followed. The desirable traits, the Rudrayamala Tantra, Mahalakshmi Ratnakosha and the Lakshmi Tantra state the most essential quality in a person to be decried as a guru was to be learned, well versed, a person who has thorough knowledge of Vedanta, Tantra, etc. subjects. Apart from the knowledge aspect, he should follow the following physical traits, and that came to around 28 no, 38 physical 38 physical traits which I'm going to list. Most of them, wherever the meaning is not necessary, I am not going to translate. I'm just going to read the Sanskrit version. Shantaha, Dantaha, Kulinaha, Vinitaha, Shuddha Veshavan. He should be well dressed. Sadachari, Supratishtaha. He should be reputed. Shuchi, Dakshaha, Buddhiman, Ashrami. Ashrami means two meanings come in the commentary. He should be in his own ashrama, that is Grihastha ashrama. And second thing, he should not move out from here and there. He should be in his own ashrama stationed. He should be approachable. As today he is here, tomorrow where he is, we don't know. This should not happen. Dhyana Nishtaha, Mantra Tantra Visharadaha, Nigrahe cha Anugrahe cha Shaktaha. He should be able to contain Nigraha. If there is some problem coming, he should be able to stop the problem. And Anugraha, he should be able to favor, he should be able to bless and grace. Mantrartha Japakaha, that is, who understands the meaning of the mantra, because in Tantra they are all mnemonic symbols. They will be termed as being meaningless. So you should know what they relate. And then you should perform the japa. Nirogi, Nirahankari, Vikara Rahitaha. He should not be a person who is fluctuating. Moods can fluctuate, we don't know. So that should not happen. Panditaha Vakpatihi. Pandita, he should be learned, and Vakpati, he should know what to say, how to say, and when to say. Shriman, Sada Yajna Vidhanakrit, Purascharanakrit. He should be repeating, he should be a person, he should not insist only his student should do the homework, but he should also himself do self-study. That is Purascharanakrit in modern terms. Hita Ahita Vivarjitaha. He should be indifferent to this worldly Hita and Ahita. Pranayamadi Siddhantavit. You should know how to, we should have breath control, pranayama, and then these are the steps to yoga. Jnani, Mauni, a person who knows, and Mauni, the person who knows, he should keep quiet. He should speak only when the time comes. At that time, he should not be a Mauni. That time he has to speak. Viragavan, detached, tapasvi, satyavadi, sada, dhyana parayanaha. He should always be engrossed in dhyana, not gossip. Agamartha vishishtagyaha. He should know what the agamas say. Nija dharma parayanaha. Know his own duties thoroughly. Bhadradanavan. I really loved this. Bhadradanavan. He should not insist that he should get the best gift, but he should also practice that. He should go give the donate the best, both to his students and to the one who seeks. Lakshmivan, Dhritiman, and Nataha. Nataha means he should be a leader. That means when the student is there, at that time or whenever he should be able to carry, he should be able to steer the process. The Sri Vidyarnava Tantra has given some physical characters for the Guru, and it is very, very beautiful. Sundaraha, he should be good looking, attractive. Sumukhaha, of pleasant countenance. Swachhaha, he should take bath, he should keep himself clean, okay, perfumed. Sulabhaha, easy to approach. Bahu mantra with, he should know various mantras. Asangshayaha and Saunshaya Chinnaha. Asangshayaha means he should not have doubt himself. If the sadhaka comes asking for some doubt, he should not say, wait, I'm going to look into some other book, let me find out. You should be able to expiate that doubt of the sadhaka. Saunshaya Chinnaha, Nirapekshaha, one who does not expect anything for his service, for his work. So the one who has to become a guru of the Sri Vidya tradition or the cult of the goddess had to possess most of the following traits, both inborn and accumulated. There are some striking features which mark out the guru from a realized person. The guru has to think of the welfare of the initiate and suggest means and ways to the initiate to overcome his problems. The guru has to provide solutions. He had to be an expert himself and a master in the mystical lore himself. He acts as a translator of the accumulated knowledge handed over to him by his guru to the next generation. A good shishya, the tantras say, may test his guru once or twice and then surrender completely. Frequent testing should be avoided as it will create lack of trust and the process may stop without any result. We have got the example of Paramahamsa Ramakrishna being tested by Swami Vivekananda, who placed a coin under the seat of the great Acharya Paramahamsa. Apart from the necessary traits qualities, the seeker has to observe the following for in a guru and avoid getting initiated from such. Some are physical, some qualities are inborn. Avoid kurupaha, bad looking, kushtarogi, krurakarmi, heartless and cruel, ninditaha, who is censured by the people society, rogi, janahimsarti, who wishes ill of the society, sada, arthagrahi, who is after money, 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 chauraha, buddhihinaha, sukharvakaha. Sukharvakaha means engrossed in evil deeds. Shyavadantaha, having a black tooth. Kulachara virahitaha. Shanti vivarjitaha. Pravastaraha. Pravastaraha is one who talks, keeps on talking, boasting, blows his own trumpet. Piditaha, one who himself is tormented, one who himself is in difficulty. How can he help others? Piditaha. Strijitaha, that is, he is under the, why we should not be a henpecked person. Under the power of a woman, that is Strijitaha, he should neither be Angahinaha or Adikangaha, having a sixth finger, or one finger less, something like that. Okay. Next, we turn to this is the first human component element. And next, we turn to the second human element who forms part of the Devi Upasana. That is Kanya. Small, tender aged virgin girls are held in great esteem in the worship of the goddess. In fact, they are considered to be the form of the goddess. The worship to the goddess is said to be complete with two things: one, Kanya Puja, and two, Suvasini Puja. I am going to speak only of Kanya. We will consider the Kanya element. The paper will acquaint the audience with the different types of Kanya as per their age and designation. The Kumari or Kanya is the goddess herself, and the Rudrayamala Tantra says Kumari Yogini Sakshat, Kumari Paradevata. And one worships her, care should be seen that she should not cry. She should be propitiated. And propitiating a Kanya is the most difficult thing in this world. If she is displeased, all the acts are futile. Vritha Narauti Sadevi Kumari Devanayika. Saraswati Swarupa Sa Pujyate Sarvanayakaihi. Now, who is this Saraswati? Is she the wife of Brahma? No. That is the name of a Kanya. So, I'll just read out some of the Kanyas here. The Rudrayamala prescribes Kanya Puja for up to 8-9 years, but then it gives a list of 16 Kanyas. 1-year-old girl is called as Sandhya, 2 years Saraswati, 3 years Tridha Murti, 4 years Kalika, 5 years Subhaga or Suryaga, 6 Rohini, 7 year Malini, 8 year Kubjika, 9 year Kalasandatri, 10 year Aparajita. 11-year-old girl is called as Rudrani, 12-year Bhairavi, 13-year Mahalakshmi. A 14-year-old girl is called as Pitanaika, and a 15-year Kshetrajna, the 16-year, that is the complete, is called as Ambika. In the Sri Vidyarnava Tantra, it is mentioned that the worship of 1-year girl child should be avoided, and worship from 2 to 16, that is equal to 15 days, 15 girls should be offered worship. It further elaborates certain physical criteria for the Kanya to whom the puja be offered. She should be Arogini, free from diseases, Supushtangi, healthy, with well-developed limbs. That she should not be frail, she should not be weak. So all that comes under Supushtangi. Surupa, good-looking. Vranavarjita, free from any wounds. Ekavamsha Samudbhuta, born of Anuloma wedlock. And now let us look at the procedure which Rudrayamala Tantra and Sri Vidyarnava Tantra mention. Padyam, Argyam, Tatha Dupam, Kunkumam, Chandanam, Shubham, Bhakti Bhavena Sampujya Kumaribhyo Nivedayet. So you offer her Padya when she comes, give her, wash her legs, give her Argya for the hands, show her incense, dhupa, offer her kunkuma, chandan, and all auspicious things, and worship her with complete bhakti bhava. In the worship, the worshipper has to offer special worship on Mahanavami day for 9 Kanyakas. And that too, he has to do it as per his monetary capacity, no force of elements. Nidhi yuktam kumarim cha pujaye chaiva bhairava. In the worship process, the important thing which we should observe and is that he should circumambulate the Kanya 3 times, he should circumambulate 3 times for 3 times. That is in the beginning 3 times, in the middle 3 times, and at the end of the puja 3 times. Total he should take 9 pradakshinas. Pradakshinam trayam kuryat adau madhye tadantatah paschad dakshina deya rajata sauvarna mauktikaihi. What is the dakshina? It should be gold, silver, and moti, that is your pearls. The worship of Kanya is very beneficial. Even the gods don't get this chance. And Kanya is to be honored. Why? And I'm very Kanya sarva samriddhi syat, Kanya sarva parantapaha, Rudrayamala says. And if you feed the Kanya and she's happy with whatever she gets, Kumari bhojikitva yena Trailokyam tena bhujitam. So treat, my dear audience, so treat the girls with respect and honor them properly. We now proceed to the third element. These are the material possessions or accessories, if I may say, in the modern context. One is the mala and the other one is the asana. Both these are personal possession of the sadhaka. As a matter of research, asanas and japamalas mentioned in few books of Tantra. Every book of Tantra will not have all with you all, as they are applicable even in the modern context. We use many such unknowingly. You know, when children go to colleges, they wear this chain, that chain, this icon, that icon. So that I said, okay, let us put this. Everybody prays and with that chain in their heads. So I thought this will be applicable. So let us see. Without the Guru, the Diksha and the Upadesha, the mantra, the worship process does not commence. And the most important aspect of the worship process is that the initiated aspirant, apart from being worthy and qualified, should make himself eligible and suitable for worship. This is done by the means of japa. Japa is the continuous repetition of the mantra initiated by the Guru. It has to be practiced for a certain number of times to charge its power and potentials. In fact, the initiate should fervently practice it such that he blabbers the mantra even in his sleep. Therefore, japa becomes jalpa, as it is an involuntary process. To keep count of the number of japa one has undertaken, a counting device, japamala, was included as an important accessory possessed by the sadhaka. Let us see the list and their benefits. Beads are made up of gold. The Sri Vidyarnava Tantra and the Lakshmi Tantra, they mention about the Japamala in detail. So I am mentioning them. Sri Vidyarnava says Kamada, and Lakshmi Tantram says it is for Dravya Siddhi and Pitrutrushti. Beads, beads of silver, Medha, Virya. Same with copper, Virya, Jaya, and Medha. Tin. Now we have come. Trapusham. That is the word for tin. It is for Yakshini Siddhyartham. Yakshinis will be very happy with you. They will be attracted to you. Saisam, made up of lead. Rakshasa, Pishacha, they will be happy. Rust of gold and dust. Ritijam, rust of gold. And dust of bronze. Kamsyajam, Vetala Sadhanartham. Ayasam, iron beads. Hina and Kshudra Karma. And if it is multiple beads, different metals, multiple metals, dhatumaya, then it is for kshudra karma. Manimayo manihi, jeweled beads. You have got made up of one particular jewel, ratna, and you have got a mala of it, then it is very good. Ayuhu, arogya, aishwaryam. If you have got spatika mala, it is moksha and shanti, muktida. Coral, vidruma, dhana, and saubhagya. Sautra. Sautra means made up of sutra, knots on cotton thread. Okay, it is for mukti. If it is for lotus seeds, the Sri Vidyarnava says it is for Pushti Vardhana. Lakshmi Tantra says it is Sarva Siddhidaha. Shanka, that is the chauri which we play, okay, which we use in Maharashtra, especially at the Ambezogai, you will find a mala being made up of it. It is for Lakshmi Prada and for Shri. Muktika, pearl, it is for Mukti, according to Sri Vidyarnava Tantra, and Lakshmi Tantra diverse. It says it is for Ayuhu, Praja, and Yasha. Putra Jiva or Putran Jiva seeds, it is for getting Putra, Pashu, Dhanya Samriddhi. Rudraksha for Bhukti and for Mukti. Kushamaya Papaha, to dispel your sins. The Mahalakshmi Ratna Kosha speaks about the power of counts of using a Japamala. So if you are counting it with hand, okay, 1, 2, 3, like this, Anguli Gadana, it is only one time. You'll get the benefit one time. If it is Rekha Gadana, using the Rekha in your hands, okay, it is 8 times. If you are using Tulasi, it is 10 times. Shankaja, 1000 times. Putra Jiva, 10,000 times. Mauktika, 1 lakh. Spatika, 10 lakh. Vajra, that is diamond, 1 crore. Vaidurya, 10 crores. Neela, sapphire, 100 crores. Pushparaga, 1000 crores. Padma Bija, lotus. Ananta, Rudraksha is Koti Koti. So they have mentioned about the precious stones, but then they have given the highest importance to Padma Bija and Rudraksha, so which can be easily obtained and which we can practice. The Japamala, Mahalakshmi Ratna Kosha says that Japam, I did not find this reference anywhere else in the books which I was seeing. The Japamala has to be taken good care of and kept in a white bag. It should be regularly washed, rinsed, made fragrant with perfumes, and kept always kept pure and auspicious. So your Japamala, you should say, a very important possession. You should always keep it in a pure state. And then there is something called as about the size of the beads, how big, how large I should wear. Okay, actually, I'm coming from the largest. 3 sizes are mentioned. The largest is the seed of a badara boar, which is large. If it is there, it is inferior. Your Japamala, the bead should not be very large. If it is like the seeds of amala, Indian gooseberry is very small. Now, modern days you get hybrid, which is large. But if you see original Indian gooseberry, it is very small, medium size. So it is okay. And small like the seeds of the aksha, it is excellent. It should be very, very, very small. And people should not, you should not reveal it everybody, I'm doing japa, so I'm having with me. Should not. So beads are there, excellent. You'll get excellent results. 54, okay. And 27 seeds, that is half. It is inferior. Now, what about the thread which runs through the beads? The thread should be either made of hemp, that is jute, or of cotton, or a mixture of both. Shanakarpasa cha urnanam kritva sutram navam dridam. And then we come to the last element called as asana. The last element is the seat. Without asana, no ritual is to be undertaken. Every sadhaka should possess his own personal seat made of kusha, vastra, urna, or ajina. Kusha grass, vastra, any cotton towel will do it. Urna, wool, or deer skin, ajina. Apart from these 4, there is a mention of other types of asanas, but they were temporal in nature. The Mahalakshmi Ratna Kosha, with regards to asana, says, asanastu japed mantri manasaha. The Parashurama Kalpa Sutra, an authoritative on Sri Vidya, says, Urna Mrudu Shuchitamasanam Savarna Surya Japabhimantritam. The purest of all the asanas is the one made up of soft wool and made pure by chanting the Surya mantra, that is the Gayatri mantra, and then you sprinkle water on it and make it holy and you sit on it. Then there is the regular asana mantras, which I am not mentioning here. The other asanas which are mentioned, this is mentioned only in the Mahalakshmi Ratna Kosha. Other tantric text has not mentioned it. So some of them are having a abhichar element in it. So kusha, if it is a kushasana, it is the varied, the best asana. Now we have got the shat karma, we have got some asanas, gajacharma for stambanam, mahishasana, buffalo, made from buffalo skin, maranam, meshi charma for uchatanam, khadgina, rahino for vashyam, jambukam, that is from the fox, it is come. So on these asanas, this he was praying against some. In another way, it has been said, use these asanas. Vyagra for Sarva Siddhi, Mrigajinam, Jnana Siddhi, on deer skin, it is Jnana Siddhi, Vastram, Rogaharam. Vastram should be your own Vastra, not somebody else. And once you are going to use it as an asana, it should be an asana only, not for wiping your face. Vetrajam, made up of bamboo, that is for Vipulashri, you get abundant prosperity. Kausheyam, silk for Paushtikam, Kambalam, Dukkha Mochanam. And with this list, I stop. I come to a conclusion. And asana, the Japamala together with the Jalapatra mark the identity of the earnest sadhaka. The purpose of his undertaking is guided by his Guru. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to present my thoughts, share some of my thoughts, some of my findings here on this big platform. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sridhar. I think it was a good overview that you gave on Devi worship. We can, of course, take the comments of the expert for your session, Dr. Rama Devi. So I would request her to give in her inputs and take it forward. Thank you. I would just request Dr. Sridhar to please mute yourself. Dr. Sridhar, please mute yourself so that Dr. Ram. Yes, thank you.
Namaste. Namaste, am I audible? Yes. Namaste, the director of Nrityodaya, and my pranams to Rajshri ma'am, my pranams to our principal, beloved principal, Padmavati ma'am, and my pranams to my Guruji. So the overall, the presentation of the young scholar, Sridhar, Iyer Sridhar, is very nice. He has covered the points. Just I would like to add on few points on it. So first he said the Kumari Puja. So the Kumari Puja. So all of us we will be having so many queries and doubts regarding this. So the Kundalini, whenever the Kundalini is raised from the Mooladhara, it is called as Kumari. So according to the Lalita Sahasranama Bhashya of Bhaskara Raya, he says Kundalini, when it is raised from the Mooladhara, it is called as Sundari. And then when it reaches that Agnya Chakra, from the Mooladhara to Agnya Chakra, she is called as Sundari. And it is according to the Panchadashi also, mantra also. And then regarding that, when it reaches the Sahasrara, she is called as Shodashi. So when she is in the Agnya, she is Panchadashi, and when she reaches that level of Sahasrara Chakra, she is called as Shodashi. So these are the points I would like to add. So Bala Mantram, and then Panchadashi Mantram, and then Shodashi Mantram. Likewise, it travels. So, and then regarding that Japamala, I would like just a single point I would like to add. So the Japamala, as he said, it is there are varieties of Japamala, and then we have for Dharana, that is for wearing, we have some separate mala will be there, and for doing that Japa, the mala will be different. So whatever is that Dharana mala, that is not used for doing that Japam, and whatever is used for that Japam, it is not, you should not wear. That is not Dharana. So with this point, I would like to add a few things. So he has stopped with the asana and the japa. So let me continue with a few things with that mantra portion. So I would like to share the screen. So can I?
Yes, ma'am, you can.
Yes, okay, thank you. So, no, the young speaker, he has a researcher, Mr. Iyer has has given us lots of information regarding that how one has to approach a guru and what are all the qualifications of a guru. Na guror adhikam tattvam. So he is superior and supremost of everyone. And then from the guru only a sadhaka will be receiving the mantra. So now I'm going to tell few points about that mantra, how a mantra is decoded. So what is the secret code in the Mantra Shastra? I would like to just add few points. So the Vedic lore has been revered for the treasure of knowledge from the beginning of time. The knowledge of Vedas was open for all and it is accessible. The Mantra Shastra, on the other hand, being esoteric in nature, restrained the user to those who are qualified to receive the same. The great amount of stress on the Shishya Lakshana and Guru Sampradaya are found in the Tantras. Just now, our Mr. Iyer was talking about so many Tantras. So the Tantras are evidences for this approach. So the mantras are the very sound. They are called as Bija Akshara, the seed letters. Since the sound is the property of the subtle element called Akasha, it follows that all the sound is eternal. So these letters carry a force to awaken the individual and lift to the veil of the ignorance. The mantra, the very word mantra. So ma represents the individual consciousness and the tra represents all pervasive consciousness. So the mantra represents the identity of the individual and the cosmic consciousness. So we have another interpretation for mantra. That is, ma represents constant repetition and the tra represents the act of saving. He just, Mr. Iyer also shared the same idea. So thus mantra also means that the formula or the sound combination that saves the one who constantly repeats it. And the tantras too are considered to exist eternally. So if you take all the tantras like the Paramananda Tantra and Malini Vijayotara Tantra, we have Rudrayamala Tantra. He was referring to Rudrayamala Tantra. So many tantras are there. The tantras like Vedas, they are the revelations of the Lord Bhairava to Parashakti Amba. So many secrets of this tradition are revealed in them in the tantras. Various codes were deployed to protect them from reaching the anadhikari, that is the undeserving. So however, the master has the access to the codes and this key was passed on to the lineage that is called the Shishya Parampara. From the Guru, the Shishya will get, that is Guru Shishya Parampara. And like this, the lineage continues. So while talking about the decoding of mantras, I know that you all are aware of Katapayadi Sankhya from A to Aha, the number, and then Ka, Ga, Ga, Cha, Cha, Jha, Jha, yeah, and we, Tata, Dadana, Papa, Bhavama, respectively. So the mantras, the Katapayadi Sankhya goes like this. So these codes are used to specify the numbers of the syllables in the mantra, which are revealed in a hidden coded manner. So referring the certain words which will mean a certain syllable. So I'm going to tell you what are all the words and how we are going to decode it. So the number of times the mantra is to be repeated, the number of deities in the enclosure, that is Avarana, etc. is learned from identified from the Katapayadi Sankhya. So, so the very famous example I'm going to take from the Mahabharata, Vyasa says, Tato Jayam Udhiraye. So when you want to decode the word Jaya, above just now we saw the Katapayadi Sankhya. So the Ja is 8 and Ya is 1. So we get the number, if you reverse it, 1, 8, that is 18. So there are 18 chapters or 18 parvas in the Mahabharata, the epic. So the Jayam Udirayet means he is referring to the 18 number. So in the Trailokya Mohana Kavacha, which uses many forms of Panchadashakshari Vidyas, Vidya means the mantras. So we find the Vidya which has a particular word called Nakha Varna. So there are two ways to decode that Nakha Varna, both resulting in the same thing. The first by the meaning. Nakha means initially it refers to the nail. So how many nails are there in the human body? If you ask, there are 20 nails. So the Vidya had 20, the particular mantra, that is Vidya, has 20 syllables. So how to decode it? Na is 0 and Ka is 2. And once again, if you reverse it, the number will be 20. So there are 20 syllables in the particular mantra. So next, if you take the famous Lalita Sahasranama, in that Bhashya, Sri Bhaskara Raya mentions for a particular word called Anadi Nidana. Here he, in the same manner, he splits the name into Ana Adi Nidana. So Nidana means death. So he decodes the prefix word Adi with this code. A is 0, since it is a alone vowel, and then Da is 8. So reading them will result 80. So he explains there are 80 types of death, elaborating with the help of Shiva and the Shiva Purana and the famous Linga Purana. Anu is the negation of these. Since Sri Devi is eternal, there is no death for her, no birth for her. So Anadi. And then in the same Lalita Sahasranama, one more example, let us see. Shuddha Vidyankurakara Dvija Pankti Dvayojvala. So here, how to decode this? So there are, Dvija Pankti. So there are 32 teeth of Sri Devi is described here. So Shuddha Vidya, the term, very term refers to the 32nd in the line of the tattvas. According to Sri Vidya Tattva, there are 32 tattvas. So the number is, the 32 is a number inferred here, and the number can be split into 2 like this. So, for a sprout, there will be 2 rows. So we can infer 2 set of 16 each. So they are likened to be the Dvija. Here the word Dvija can be decoded as Dvija. So Ja is 8 and it is Dvi is 16. So 16 into I is 8. So it is 16. So the next Pankti Dvaya refers to the twice of 16, that is 32 Vidyas and 32 teeth. So next one, how to decode through another method is called Varga. So we have for Shunya to Dasha, Ekadasha, Dvadasha, and so on, infinite numbers. For Shunya, we will be referring like Nabha, Bindu, Kha, Jaladhara, Shunya, Purna, like that. For Ekaha, Chandraha, Rupa, Vak, Vadana, Kali, Brahma, Mukha, like that. For Dvi, we have Netra, Ayana, Dvi Ayana, that is Dakshinayana, Uttarayana, and then we have Hasta, 2 hands, Ashwini, 2 star. The star is followed. It is always dual, and then Chakshu, we have 2 eyes. Yugalam is dual, Yugmam is dual, and Paksha, Krishna Paksha, Shukla Paksha, Pani, Yama, like that. And then for the number 3, we have 3 Agnis, Dakshinagni, Garhapatya, Ahavaniya, and then 3 Kala, Pratakala, Madhyana, Sandhya, and then Sharira, Rama. We have the very famous example, Kausalya Rama, Balarama, and then Parashurama, Triguna, and so on. And then for 4, we have Abdi, Amnaya, Jaladi, Chaturveda, Chaturyuga, Chaturvarna, Samudra, like that, Chaturashrama, and so on. We have many numbers, infinite numbers can be grouped under a Varga. It is called as Varga code. So, and then we have Bhuta Sankhya. So in the Parashurama Kalpa Sutra, the numbers of Guru Mandala Devatas are numbered as Muni, Veda, Naka, Sankhya. So, the Muni, we have 7, and then in the one particular word called Divya Auga, Manava Auga, Siddha Auga. So we can find out Divya Auga means 7, and then Divya Auga have 4, and Manava Auga 8 gurus. So like that, the Bhuta Sankhya. So next one, in the Trailokya Mohana Kavacha, we find a Vidya called Netra Veda Makhair Varnaha Yutaha. Using the same code, we can find the numbers 2, 4 and reversing them, it is 42. So there are 42 syllables in that mantra. And then next one, coming to the next code is Matrakshara code. So there is an established identity of Matraksharas with tattvas. So tattvas, I don't already mentioned 32 tattvas and Kala 16. So hence these letters are at times referred to the mantra udharam. How to identify or how to find out a particular mantra, how many syllables are there. So the very famous Bala Tripura Sundari mantra, today I'm going to take. So in the Jnanarnava Tantra, there is one verse for the Uddhara. There is a very famous shloka for the Uddhara of the Bala Tripura Sundari mantra. So, Jnanarnavam Surya Swaram Samucharya Bindu Nada Kalanditam Swarantam Prithvi Samstam Thuriya Swara Samanditam Bindu Nada Kalakanta Sargavan Bhrigur Avyayah Shakraswara Samayuktam Vidyayam Trayaksharim Matha. So here, if you take the Surya denotes number 12 because Surya has 12 colors. So the swaras are also, the vowels are also 12. What is the 12th vowel? It is I is elucidated in this. And along with that Bindu and Nada, look in the verse, we have that Bindu and Nada Kalanditam. So Bindu and Nada Makara, it will becomes Aim. So the Swaranta, next letter, if you move on to the Swaranta is the syllable. After the Swara, the first one is Ka is the first consonant. The Swaranta is Ka. And then for the Prithvi word, we have the consonant called La, Lakara. Along and then it is if you map the consonant for the 5 elements, that is Lakara is for Prithvi, and then the Turiya Swara is E. Along with Bindu and Nada, it will become Ma, and then it has become the Kamaraja Bija clean. So Sargavan with Visargaha is Ha, and the Brigu is the consonant for Sa, and then Sakara, that means Indra. Sakra is the word for Indra, and then it denotes the number 14. So hence 14th Swara, that is coming with the vowel Au. So this together will reveal that Shakti Bija called Sauhu. So the 3 Bijas to reveal that Bala mantra, Ain, Clean, Sauhu. Likewise, the mantra Uddhara is done. So if we know this Varga and the codes, how to do that decoding, then the mantras are actually, it is not explicit. That is how where we approach the Guru under the guidance of the Guru, as Mr. Ayyar said, under the guidance of a proper Guru. So the mantras, the Upasaka will get the mantras by chanting the mantras again and again, Mananam. So mantra means Mananam, mantra Mananat Trayate iti mantraha. One more version is there. So by chanting it again and again, he becomes the supreme being. So this is the process of puja. So here, without the help of the guru, the sadhaka cannot reach that level. So I stop it here. So it's a very wonderful presentation by that researcher, Mr. Ayyar. I'm congratulating him for this. It is actually an eye-opener. Thanks. I'm stopping the presentation.
I think it was quite an intellectual exercise, not just spiritual, extremely mathematical as well. Both the young researcher as also the expert has given us an entirely new way of approaching our daily chants and prayers, which I think we were doing quite mechanically. So now it has created a great amount of awareness that there is so much of depth in it, though we knew we were not thinking about in these terms. And I think in that sense, it's been wonderful. So there are a few quick questions which I would like to just ask the researcher and the expert. There are two which the researcher can take, and then I'll go on to the expert. Dr. Sridhar, I'll be just asking you two questions. So one question is, what is the origin of Shri Puja? One person has asked. These questions are coming on FB Live. There is one more question, and that is when, why, and how did the vilak, the lamp, become symbolic of Devi in the ritual? So two questions. The origin of Shri Puja and the association of the Valak with Devi Puja.
Shri Puja or Stri Puja?
Sri, they have put it as Sri, S-R-I.
Okay, we have got right from actually, if you see the oldest work is, if you see the Rigveda, the Khila Bhaga, as well as the Purusha Sukta, you'll find the origin of two Bija mantras. Shrishchate, Lakshmishcha Patnyo, there they have got already. So from that, we normally trace the origin to the modern day. We can, because we want to associate everything with Vedic cult. And as revealed before also, these mantras, mantra shastra is parallel with your Veda shastra. With Agama and Naigama, both are running parallel. One mode of worship, the other was another form of worship. They both ran parallel with each other. It, see, all these things are later developments. One by one, it revealed and teachers came. Actually, I wanted to share an important information. The Dasha Mahavidya, if you see, each one of them is important. People are very much confused that my God is great, my God, every God is great. They got amalgamation, whatever mantra you have been given, whatever mantropadeshan you have been given, you have been shown the different process. These are the 10 approaches to the Supreme Deity. Why they came into form is how you are going to be, how you are going to worship for your own personal needs. For your own personal needs, first the personal needs are satisfied. Otherwise, people will not be attracted. If you see conversion taking place throughout the world, your personal need is first given to you. That is the way to take you, and then go to the next part. In this particular cult, first your so many things are told, and later aversion is created. We don't want these things. We have to go to the next world, because all these are going to end up at one time or the other. You have to go to the next world. So this is what I personally have seen through that. Vilakku Puja, right from the beginning, she is always Jwala Mara. Fire is always associated with the goddess. In fact, the 7 flames of, I'm not having the Mahalakshmi Ratna Kosha, right? So the 7 flames are called as Jwalini, Pulingini. They are all the names of the tongues of fire. They are all are female deities. They are all female deities. So that Vilakku Puja is another way is the Agnihotra fire, which dwindled in every Indian Hindu household. It found its place in the Vilakku. And so you salute the Vilakku. Today you are having so many ways you worship the Vilakku as candlelight march or whatever. You are worshipping the same Agni principle every time. This is what that's my personal opinion.
There is also one question which probably you can answer. It's connected with the origin of Shri Puja. That is, I think, how did the Bala Puja originate? So is there any input that you can?
Bala Puja originated means you can, right now I may take this question for my future research. Origin of Bala. But right, vaguely I can roughly say. Yeah, roughly I can say that this Kanya Puja is a very important aspect, because the Kanya has to be propitiated, and the way it has been told for a sadhaka, 2-year-old girl, that is Saraswati, all the gods have to worship her, all the gods worship her. This Saraswati, you have to fill her palms with things. And small girl will not hold it for a long time. If she maintains, if she holds it for a long time, your puja is success. Yes. So this everything cannot be revealed. Some of them are still to be published, and they are not. So that is why I did not reveal. But since this came here, I gave it. Came. So maybe the Bala Puja originated right from Bala. It is easy, difficult to propitiate. Go to the next one, Lalita, and then to Shodashi or Raja Rajeshwari or the highest principle. It might be a step by step manner where she is seen.
Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Dr. Sridhar. There are two questions for you, Dr. Rama, if I may ask them now. One is, what would be the efficacy of the mantras if done without the asanas and the mala? For instance, if one is traveling, that is one question. The second question is, has the mantra diksha to be initiated by a guru only, or one can learn from the book and take it up as a sadhana?
So first I would like to take up the second question. I will answer the second question. So now Guru Radhikam Tattvam, already we have seen. Let me borrow the words from Mr. Sridhar. So without the proper initiation from the Guru, if you chant, Japaha become Jalpaha only. So under the guidance of a Guru, a Sadhaka, a seeker should go and get the mantra, not from the book. So we have so many instances and verses. If you take what will happen straight away from the book or from the CD, or somebody came in my dream, they have initiated, you are not supposed to do, because for the mantra diksha, uttering a mantra, we have 7 steps right from that nyasa to, so we have so many things right from the asana we were referring. And then without proper steps, you are not supposed to climb that ladder. So without a guru, one cannot utter or chant the mantra. So coming to the first question, so on while traveling, there is no asana. How can I chant? Internally, after the initiation, proper initiation, like our breath. So your, how many times we inhale and exhale, like that we can chant the mantra internally. So we need not know it is a upamshu. You need not open your mouth and chant the mantra. For that, no need of asana. That is what internally. How many times in the bed also you can chant. So internally that process is going without even know we feel the breath is going like that. Internally you can do that. That is properly under the guidance, properly getting the diksha from the Guru, Sadguru.
There is one more question which has come in, and that is there is an opinion by many scholars and others that Vishnu Sahasranamam and Lalita Sahasranamam should not be just chanted as a daily ritual or just as at home, that it has to be done in a particular paddhati. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yes, exactly, because Lalita Sahasranama, just now we saw the decoding of so many phrases from it. So it is full of mantra and bijaksharas. So without a proper initiation of Panchadashi or a Shodashi mantra, sadhaka or a devotee are not supposed to do that, because all the words or letters are full of mantras. Like this, Vishnu Sahasranam also is so I don't want to say that Sri Rama Rama Rameti. So Ra Ma 2 into 5, 10, 10, 10. That is why Sahasranama Tattulyam. So it is there in the Katapayadi Sankhya. So if we miss properly, if you pronounce something, then no, that value of that mantra. So proper under the proper guidance of a guru, if you take and chant, it is for betterment.
May I add?
Yes.
For both the questions, mantra should be, whenever you are doing japam, first of all you should have shikha, at least some tuft of hair, right from simple Gayatri, shikha moshat. Where is the shikha? There is no shikha only. Then you say how the mantra will work for you. I'm not speaking about the dress code. I'm asking about your own personal. There is no shikha only. Then where will you put the? You will just touch your head. So first of all, mantras, there should be at least a shikha. Certain codes we follow. You need not, there can be only 4 or 5 small tuft of hair is very important. That is very much important. Asana, definitely, whatever be your routine, can't you spare half an hour? Can't you spare 15 minutes to sit down and do your japa. Can't you get up early in the morning and do your japa? Then when the japa is chanted, uska viniyoga is being done, when it is completed, then afterwards you can continue to chant that in your heart. That is involuntarily it should happen in your heart, because nyasa is very important. Without that, the mantra will not be activated. I have diksha. Now that is why I have written one important point. A disciple, a shishya is different, who has been given diksha, from a follower who is a bhakta. What we see is a bhakta tradition. We see only the bhakta tradition. The disciple of Paramacharya is the next Pitadipati. The disciple of Mahasanidanam is the next Sanidhan. That is called as Shishya Parampara, Guru Shishya Parampara. We are all followers. We are all followers. Hastamastaka Diksha process is a big process. The mantra has to be tested. When the Katapayadi Sankhya is given for choosing the mantra, that the Guru and the Shishya, that Guru has to test whether this mantra will do welfare for my Shishya. Sometimes what happens, I have seen personally in Sri Vidya tradition, the Guru gives him, he is very happy that he want, because somebody is there to become my Shishya, he gives the Diksha, he performs the Guru is very much excited that he gives the Diksha, and performs the Abhishekam, but that mantra does not look at the horoscope and the other thing. And what happens is that the mantra does not have a bearing on the Shishya. If the mantra is not properly, the Guru has to take away that mantra from the Shishya. He has to accept it back from the Shishya, receive it back again. If this is not working, replacement. Give him, yes, it is mentioned, and then give him, initiate him in another mantra, because it is for his hita. That is why it is very important. Now, as for the chanting of the mantra, if you don't understand, both very important thing used to happen at Sringeri, Mahasanidanam, that is Abhinava Vidyatirtha Mahaswamin. At that time, there was a person who had lost his wife twice, and he was doing Chandi Pata. So he was saying Chandi Pata, and what happened is Mahasanidanam, Abhinava was full of grace, and he listened to what he was saying. Bharyam Bhakshatu Bhairavi, he prayed. So let my wife be eaten by Bhairavi. So all it is Bharyam Rakshatu Bhairavi. May Bhairavi protect my wife. And he was saying Bhakshatu. So just why? Because you are reading through books, you are not understanding. The pronunciation should be absolutely crystal clear. The pronunciation should be absolutely crystal clear. So these are very important things. That is why you don't have any other thing with you. No problem for your worship. You can do Panchopachara Puja, but sit at one place. Okay. Second question: while you are traveling and chanting the mantra, you are always in motion. Why do you seek the mantra? To be steady, to be at rest. Can you get that rest? Did you understand what I am saying? You are already moving. If you are traveling by bus or train, somebody is going to push you. You have to get down to the next station. Where are your thoughts? Are you focused? So give that me time of 10 to 15 minutes every day. Sit and pray. Even if it is shunya, nothing is coming to your mind, give that 15 minutes. Automatically the mantra will. It is not key to today I am putting, it is not instant. It is not instant upma. It takes time to cook. It takes time. The mantra will fructify. Okay. And Vishnu Sahasranamam and Lalita Sahasranamam, may I answer, madam? Madam, with your permission. Yeah.
Yes, please.
Both the Sahasranamams can be chanted, because they are for the masses. People have to know it. But as I told you, as time passes by, like today, madam had revealed so many things. Dr. Rama, madam has revealed so many things. You are all lucky to hear so many important information given by her. So as time passes, they will start revealing in your mind. Mantrartha Grahi. Once you are knowing the meaning of the mantra, the work of that mantra will be quite different. You will not run after Kamya Karma. You will automatically move away from it. Remember, our religion has never said no to Kamya. First Kamya, overcome that Kamya, then proceed to the moksha. That is the next step. Because everybody is going to give up their Gandiva like Arjuna, then what will happen? So we have to do it. I hope this satisfies some of the audience who had raised the question.
Yes, I think it should be, because the explanation was very clear, both from you and the expert. So the questions, I think, have been asked by people who really wanted to know how to practice certain things. They had genuine doubts. I think those doubts have been cleared. So we have come now to the end of a very interesting session. I think a very thought-provoking session on one hand. At the same time, there was something very comforting as well, because that we have such a tradition which can keep constantly giving us these notions, these concepts, these ideas for our own self-realization. So I think it's important at this stage to thank a few people who have helped us in this journey so far. We, of course, at the outset, I would like to thank our Guru, Padma Bhushan, Dr. Padma Subramaniam, who, as we've been telling again and again, she not only helped us plan the whole thing, but she has been with us so far and she has assured us of future help as well. So our pranams to her. I would like to take this opportunity to thank particularly our expert, Dr. Rama Devi, who agreed immediately as soon as I asked her. And it's a pleasure to have you in our institution at Shashwan Jain College, and we look forward to a lot more interactions as well on many such topics. I would like to thank Dr. Sridhar, who we know has been quite busy with his school work. And I think it's a happy situation where we have people like him very committed, but who are at that school level, which is so important for our society today. Many students miss that kind of intrinsic, deep, committed teaching by Sanskrit teachers at the school level. Very often, because of certain reasons, I don't want to go into it. Sometimes the reasons are purely political as well. And then when they come to a higher level, they are not able to take the essence of Sanskrit teaching as easily and as well as they should be doing. So thank you so much, Dr. Sridhar, for being the young researcher today and for clarifying so many of the doubts as well. And I take the opportunity to thank from Center of Excellence, our Secretary, Abhay Shishimalji, and our Principal, Dr. S. Padmavati, who have been very supportive and who have given us not only the go ahead, but who have not interfered at all in our selection of either the researcher or the expert. So I think I should thank them particularly for that. From the side of Nrityodaya Academy of Performing Arts, they have had a lot of well-wishers and supporters. One of them particularly is Mr. Ramesh, who the moment he came to know that we are planning something like this, he came forward and he said he will be with them throughout the season. So I take this opportunity to thank him. I take the opportunity to thank all our listeners who keep joining us on FB Live, both on Nrityodaya FB page as also Center of Excellence page. And they come up with a lot of good feedback as also questions. So it is my duty to thank them. And of course, my prayers to the Almighty that He is with us at every stage. And we are requesting all young researchers to please come forward and contact us so that we can present your papers in future sessions. We are also happy to inform that our next session is going to be on the art of puppetry. The young researcher is Miss Sharanya from Maharashtra, and the expert is Mrs. Anupama Hoskore, who is the founder of the Dhatu School of Puppetry from Bangalore. And this has been scheduled for the 4th of December, which is again a Friday, and it will be at 7 o'clock. So hope to meet all of you again. I would like to thank also Mrs. Aishwarya Harish for being the MC, and Ms. Sundari for her melodious rendition. And of course, it's always a pleasure to collaborate with Nrityodaya Academy of Performing Arts, led by Dr. Jayashree Rajagopalan. So Shubharatri and Dhanyavada.
Yeah.